When you work on data science project during your learning phase, you're using open source dataset and building the model right from start to end. That is a straightforward process. But when you work on a data science project in industry, the process is not that simple. In industry, the data science project goes through 6 stages throughout its life cycle. So in today's video, we are going to find out what's the life cycle of a data science project in industry. Let's find out. So in industry, you start with the discovery phase. So right from the discovery phase, you have to go till the model monitoring phase. So there are 6 stages. So in the discovery phase, what you do is you try to understand which kind of data sources we have, what kind of model we build based on those data sources. Is there any business value in building that model? Because in business, you cannot just build the model because you have the data and you have the machine learning skills. That's not how it works. You have to build a model which is going to solve actual business problem, which is going to create business value. So during discovery phase, you have to make sure that you are involving all the senior stakeholders, all the SMEs, and having those discussions to understand which kind of problem statement you can pick up. For example, if you decided that you want to build a risk engine for predicting loan default, then you have to evaluate if you build this risk engine or if you build this machine learning model, what kind of business impact it can have. Would it reduce the non-performing assets by 5 to 10%? If yes, okay, that's a big business impact. Let's go ahead and build that model. Then in this stage, you also have to identify relevant data sources because you identified the problem statement which has a business value. Your stakeholders are also kind of happy to go ahead and build that problem or build that model. But you also have to find out, do you have data sources to solve that problem using machine learning? So this initial discovery happens in the discovery phase. And then you decide that, okay, this is the good enough problem statement to solve. And then you go to the next stage. In next stage, you're mainly working on data processing and interacting with the subject matter experts. So people who understand the data, people who understand the business process. So during this phase, you have to identify all the data sources which are there and make sure that those data sources are available to you in your data lake. So in this phase, you have to work closely with your data engineering team, which is fetching data from various sources and getting it to single place from which you can consume it for building your machine learning model. In this phase, you also have to make sure that you're understanding data completely and you're able to work on data cleaning, data processing kind of steps before going to the machine learning model building. After you are ready with the clean data, let's assume you're ready with the clean data because in industry, it's really difficult to get to the stage where whole data is really clean. You would always have some kind of challenges with the data. But let's assume you reach to the stage where data is now good enough to go ahead and build the machine learning model. Then you start working on feature engineering. So in that, you might have to create some additional features based on the data. For example, you got information about when certain person started working and what is today's date, right? Then based on that, you can create features like for how many months this person is doing a job, because that might also help you to get good understanding about the credit history of that person when you're building a loan default engine. So like this, you have to create multiple features which can be provided as input to your machine learning model. So during this third phase, you go ahead and do the feature engineering as well as you start building your machine learning model. And it's not enough to just go ahead and build the model. Obviously, you have to evaluate the model on the historical data because you have to make sure that the model is giving acceptable results. It is going to predict the things in the right way. So the evaluation phase is really important during this third step in life cycle of a data science project. So after you build your machine learning model, your fourth phase is stakeholder sign-off. So you might feel that, okay, we have built the model, we have evaluated on the historical data, we are done with the project now. No, that's not the case. So if you ask me based on my experience, I would tell that stakeholder sign-off is the most difficult stage in data science project. Because in this, you have to again involve all the parties which are there. So basically your directors, MDs or people who are sponsoring the project or end customers who are going to consume the results of your project. So for example, if you are building a loan risk prediction model, right? So there your end consumer might be the person who is actually approving the loan application, right? So that person would get information about what is the risk score calculated by machine learning model and what are the factors which are driving those risk scores. So those end users should also be happy with the kind of results you're getting. Then you also have to involve the people who are building the systems in which you are going to integrate your machine learning results. Because at the end, you cannot just write your machine learning results in CSV and say that, okay, this is the CSV file. Now go ahead and consume the results from that. That's not how it works. So your results need to be integrated into the systems which are again used by the end users of that particular system. So all those people are involved in this stakeholder sign off stage, and you have to make everyone happy. Kind of, you have to make sure that everyone's questions are answered in a right way and they are on board, and provide sign off to your project to go ahead and deploy it in production. So this is the most difficult stage, I would say, in the life cycle of a project. So if you make sure that right from the beginning of project, people are on board and you're having that continuous conversations with all the stakeholders, this stage would be much easier than not having that good communication with your stakeholders. Other than you would definitely struggle in this fourth stage. So after you receive stakeholder sign off, your next stage is model deployment. So congratulations for receiving that sign off, because it's not that easy. Now, when it comes to model deployment, what you have to do is, first you have to make sure that your code is standardized and you are having proper documentation of your overall project. So your code needs to follow the Python coding guidelines. Your code should be properly architectured. It should have good comments written into it. Then you should also have a good documentation of all the efforts done in feature engineering, then model building and evaluation. All those steps should be properly documented. After that is done, then you can go ahead and proceed with the deployment. Now, with respect to the deployment, Docker is the most used format for model deployment in the industry at the moment. So you can use Dockerized deployment for making sure that your model is deployed in the production. Now your model is in production. Is it done? No, it's still not done, because the way in which machine learning projects work, they are very, very different than the typical IT projects. So after you have deployed your model in production, you have to make sure that you are monitoring the model continuously as well. So you have to create additional scripts which are monitoring the model. So the model monitoring would involve making sure that the feature engineering is creating features in the right way. There are no issues in the input data quality. You also have to monitor the results to make sure that model is not creating any ambiguous kind of outputs. So all those kind of things happen in model monitoring stage. Then in model monitoring, you also have to make sure that you are retraining the model at a regular frequency. Now this frequency would depend based on the problem statement. So this frequency can be once in a month or once in a quarter. That depends on the kind of problem you are solving. And in this stage, you would also have to calculate the actual business impact, because you have to make sure that then you are also providing those kind of values to the business, that this model is deployed in the production in last 3 months. And based on that, this is the kind of business impact we have created in terms of the monetary value. So like this, the model goes through in total 6 stages in its life cycle in the industry. So I hope you got clarity about how data science projects work in the industry. And I think it would be much clearer to you now than working on a Kaggle projects. So we would bring more such videos in future to make sure that you have good insights about data science project in the industry. Thanks for your time today, and bye-bye.